Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. So I gotta be honest with you. A couple years ago, I found myself in a really weird spot, like pretty, I wouldn't say depressed, but pretty sad. And I just had this issue that I was struggling with, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. And I turned to the Bible, like I guess I normally do when things are really bad. I mean, I try to do that on a pretty regular basis, but you go a little bit more, you go a little bit often, you dig a little bit deeper. And I was really struggling with how to let go of this issue. I've been struggling with it for a while. I've been holding on to it, and it was weighing me down. You know, it was like I was carrying a backpack full of bricks, and everybody around me could see it. And they'd ask me how I was doing. Fine, right? Like, I'm fine. And they could tell I wasn't, or they wouldn't keep asking. And I read this one particular verse in Micah 7:19 through 20. And it's just this, it was this clear promise. It's exactly what I needed to hear at the time. It says, where is the God who can compare with you? And Micah is essentially saying, where is the God who can compare to the one that wipes the slate clean, frees us of guilt? Mercy is your specialty. And then it goes on to say, you God, the God of the Bible, you'll stamp out our wrongdoings. You'll sink our sins to the bottom of the ocean. And in that moment, something went off for me. I finally was in a spot where I wanted to ditch this backpack full of bricks. I was so tired of it wearing me down, I just wanted to ditch it. I wanted to get rid of it. And so I drove to a river. And I went to the edge of the river. I didn't know why I was going to the river. I didn't really know what to expect, other than I saw that this verse said, you'll sink our sins to the bottom of the ocean. Whether it's my sin or somebody else's sin that I was wrestling with, I needed to do something with it. And so I went to the river. I remember standing by the river. I remember praying, and it just still felt like I was wearing the backpack. I looked down and I saw a rock. It was probably a little bit bigger than a softball. And I picked up that rock and I thought, you know what? I'm going to assign this rock, this sin that I'm wrestling with, that I'm carrying around, this issue, I'm going to just say that it is this rock. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And I said, you know what, God, whatever it is, like, I'm sick of carrying this rock around with me. And I threw that rock in the as far as I could. Now, I was going to say the middle of the river, but come on, it was a big rock. So I threw it as far as I could. I remember feeling like I had in that moment taken that backpack off and set it on the side. And I walked out of there. I remember getting back in the car and just feeling like I weighed 20 to 30 pounds lighter. I was able to assign this thing and say, God, you take it. Because I know your promise in Micah, it says, you will sink that to the bottom of the ocean, and I never need to think about it again. So I want to challenge you, if you're in a spot where grace is needed, go somewhere, find a body of water, and hold on to the fact and the truth that God forgives you. He's given you grace. No other God can compare. He's the one that will stamp it out, guilt-free. He loves mercy. If you're holding on to something that's somebody else's issue, if you need to extend grace, that's kind of where I was at. I was just wrestling with this, and I didn't know how to get rid of it because it wasn't mine, and yet it still weighed me down. I did not forgive. Look at the same verse, because God is so merciful, so should we be. God's extended grace to us, so we should extend grace the same. I encourage you to do the same thing. Find your river, find your lake, find your rock, and ditch it. You will be forever grateful, not only for that one moment of ditching the rock. You'll be forever grateful for a God who sees well beyond anything we've done or anybody around us has done. Free yourself up of that. Take the backpack off and just free yourself of that issue. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to follow us each week, click here to subscribe. And if you want to take it a little bit further, click here for discussion materials.